So I have not run the plane yet. In the last video, we looked at installing the mags. We pre-oiled the aircraft. I went through the fuel system, got fuel running through, and it looks really good and cleaned. But there was a lot of stuff packed into that last video, so I thought I would hold off trying to run the aircraft till this video. So I had to actually leave and come back and get some stuff, one of which is a little bit of safety precautions. This thing hasn't run in 6 years, so I thought it would be best if I got a fire extinguisher. We're gonna pick up right where we left off. It's pre-oiled, and now it's just gonna be a matter of firing it up and getting it running. So I'm gonna try to set the camera up to where it's out of the prop wash, and you guys can actually see when she fires up. We're gonna go give it a shot right now. I've got our safety precautions, like I said, and we'll go from there. All right, we're kind of primed. We're gonna give it a shot. Let's see how she goes. Clear prop. She fired. Well, I wouldn't say that was a great success, but the engine ran. So it's running pretty rough. So I think what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna wait until next week. We're getting ready to go on a vacation, and I'm probably just gonna have to wait when we get back, see about pulling the carburetor, cleaning it out really good. I was able to keep it running with the primer line, so it doesn't look like it's getting enough fuel, but yeah, so I think next week my best plan of action is going to be to actually just remove the carburetor and try to clean it out. My spark seems good. It's obviously getting fuel. It's just not getting it through the carb. Okay, so what I think is going on here, when I prime it, it has enough fuel in it to start or fire the engine. But as soon as it starts to turn over, it's not able to draw fuel through the carburetor. And there's something restricting the flow of fuel to the cylinders through the carburetor, because if I'm continue to prime, the engine is really rough, but obviously it's still trying to fire. So directly shooting fuel into the cylinders is allowing it to sort of run, but there's something going on inside of this carburetor. So that's what we're going to be doing today, is removing this carburetor. Thought about sending this out for overhaul, and to be honest, I may end up doing that. I'm not against the idea of it, but I think the carburetor is in better condition than the magnetos were. We're going to go ahead and start unhooking some fuel lines. I've got the mixture pulled to idle cutoff, as well as the fuel selector valve to the off position. So there may be a little bit of fuel come out, but hopefully it seals itself off once we get everything that's in the line out. And then from there, we're good to go. Just gonna be pulling this carb off. Alright, so we've got the throttle cable has been disconnected. Just got to do the mixture cable, which is sitting right in here behind it, right behind the throttle there. It's out of focus a little bit, but that's all we've got left. And then we'll have this guy ready to pull it all the way off the block. The mixture is disconnected up in here, and I think now all that we really have left are the 4 studs that hold it onto the engine block itself. I've got the fuel line disconnected and out of the way. Right, there she is. Got the carb off. Let's take a look at it. It was pretty evident after I began looking at this carburetor that the very, very small passages inside of the carb itself were clogged from old fuel, and this thing just really needed to be gone through by a professional. So the next day I boxed it up and shipped it out to North Carolina, where it is getting overhauled by the manufacturer, and hopefully we'll be back by the first week of August. We still don't have a carb yet. This is almost the end of July here, so I'm hoping that this week they will finish up on the carb and get it shipped in. I've got some stuff coming that I'm going to include in that video, but I wanted to go ahead, and since there's really nothing else to do, we're going to start the annual today, and one of the very first things you want to do is wash the plane, and as you can see, this one desperately needs it. And then we'll probably get into the history behind this plane. So I didn't expect my last video to do so well, and honestly, I don't feel like I've given a lot of people, except for those that know me, a backstory of what caused this plane to sit in storage for really almost a decade. So we'll get into that as we go through and wash the plane. But first, let's get her outside. We'll get her washed up. All dust is basically broken little rocks. So what you want to do first when you go to wash really anything, you want to rinse it down one time good and let all those dust particles wash off the plane without scrubbing it. So that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to jump into it, and then we'll get started soaping it up. I found that washing the bottom of the wing using one of these mitts is awesome because it allows you to really conform to the shape of the wing, as well as to get in like tiny crevices and work the dirt and stuff out of there. So it's been my go-to so far on this thing. In 2014 we purchased this plane, and we got it at a little bit of a discounted rate because a few of the records had been through a fire and were no longer available. But we have recreated the logbooks, and we've made sure everything has been done and is legal, and
through inspection we're able to figure that out. But the problem is I was still a student getting my aircraft maintenance license. We call it the A&P, Airframe and Power Plant. And at the time I had not finished that, and I was very much not confident in my ability to change the mags, to do all the stuff that you've been watching me do now. Right after I graduated, my wife and I relocated to Papua New Guinea in the Southwest Pacific area, just north of Australia. And there I served as a missionary pilot, helping out fly a 206 turbo aircraft. While we were there, I didn't have anyone back home who I thought could work on the plane or maybe start doing some of the smaller projects to get it up and running, and so it really sat in storage until we got back a few years ago. And at that point I had not worked as a mechanic in so long, I really felt uncomfortable tackling the project again myself. It sat back in storage until recently, when I was able to put a couple years of experience as a mechanic under my belt. I got my inspector's authorization, my IA certificate, which was one of the main things I was waiting on to start this project. There was going to be a lot of sign-offs that needed to take place as far as airworthiness directives, but there's a lot of modifications that I was hoping to do to this plane once I got it up and flying. And instead of having to either ask someone to come out and pay multiple trips out here to sign off this plane, I figured I can wait 6 more months, do it myself, get this authorization. And in hindsight, I should have started early, and it's taken forever to get the carb installed, get the mags installed. So things like that could have been done on the front end, and then now we could just be wrapping up an inspection. But here we are. So I thank you guys for watching today. Hopefully you've enjoyed a little bit of a scattered video here, but we at least got to see what was going on with the carburetor, make sure that the aircraft will fire on those mags, and she's looking better than she's looked in a very long time. So getting her washed was one of the highlights for me. We'll see you guys next time. Hopefully we'll be able to install the carburetor and actually run this plane. Okay guys, so I need help from y'all. At this point in the game, I did not expect to have this many people watching this rebuild process, getting this aircraft back up and flying, and I don't have a nickname for this plane yet. So if you think you know of a good name or nickname for my little blue Cessna 140, make sure you comment that down below, because I desperately am looking for a good name. This one doesn't have a nickname yet, and so make sure you let me know in the comments what you think my nickname for this plane should be. We'll see you guys later.